Hi guys, this is Tech Howdy. I welcome you to another video tutorial on creating an ASP.NET Core application with Angular 7. In the last video tutorial, we created the products routing module and we have tested it to make sure that the routing module works fine. So now we have our products view page, and first of all, there are many problems, but the first problem is that I'm not logged into the application, but I can still see the product page or the products list view. Now, I shouldn't be able to see this because I have not yet logged in the application. That means I don't have an JWT token and I'm not authenticated. If you go back to the application and open your startup.cs class, here inside the roles, the policy that we created for authorization, we created a policy by the name of required logged in. Now, when we go back to our product controller, if you look at the product controller, there is a tag here or an attribute here that we have added which says authorize. Now, the authorize attribute includes the policy required login. And as per the policy required login, the user, first of all, needs to be authenticated and needs to be inside this specific role. So if the user is authenticated and the user is a moderator or a customer or a admin, then they would be able to view the list of products. But when we go back to the application, I'm not logged in. I can see this view and we need to fix this. Secondly, I'm seeing a button which is saying add product. Go back to my code, and the add option to add a product can only be used by the administrator. So the authorize policy says that we have used the required administrator role policy, and the documentation under startup class says, oh, only admin can access this method, or only admin can add a product. So the user needs to be authenticated and the user role needs to be admin. So I log in, I should be only be able to see the list of products but not this add product button, because it can only be accessible by an admin role user. Now for this we have to write all the logic that is required inside the product list component class that we have here. So in this video tutorial, we will start working on the product list component. So like every other component, when we start working on any component class, we go ahead and create the properties first, the required properties. So let's go ahead and create the required properties for our product list component class. So the first list or the first section of properties that we will require is for the form control for adding products. So when we need to add products, we need to get the values from the input tags or from the checkboxes, and we need to store them in some variables or in some objects. So we will create all those required properties, and all these properties will come from a form. Therefore, they will be of data type form control. So I have already explained this when we created the login and registration forms, so I don't need to go in details. If you have missed watching that video tutorial, you can go ahead and watch it. So let me just go ahead and quickly add the required properties. So I have added the required properties. The first property is the insert form, which is a part of form group. The second property is the name, which is a part of form control. Price, part of form control. Description, part of form control. And image URL, which is also a type of form control. And let's fix these errors by importing the required classes. So I've imported form control, form group, validators, and form builder from Angular Forms, and we'll make use of all these classes as we proceed in this product list component. So the next set of properties that we require is for updating the product. So while we are updating the product, we again need the same list of properties. So what I want to do is I'll go ahead and create those. So I will add these properties here. So I have another form which will be inside the model, and we will use that to add a new product. So sorry, to update a new product. So we have a form that will add a new product, and we have a form that will update an existing product. So the update form will be called as update form and is a part of form group, and we have the same properties here, but the way I have named it name these properties is by adding an underscore before them, so that I don't have to change the name and it's more understandable to whoever is coding or reading these property names. And I have added an additional property here, that is the ID, because when we are adding the products, we don't have an ID that is generated by the database automatically. But when we are updating the product, we need to know the ID of the product that we are updating. So we need to create a property for that. Now, this update form and insert form, if you go back to your product list component HTML, it's the form inside your model. There are models, and inside that there are forms. So it's basically the name of the forms. Update form, and we should have another model which is the add product model, and the name of the form should be here inside the add product model. So I don't have the name added here inside the add product model. So if you look at the form tag, it's empty for the add product model. So I'll go ahead and add the form group attribute, form group angular attribute, and I will give it a name of insert form. Now please make sure that the form names that you used here should match the form names that you have used here in the properties. So make sure that they are the same. Now let's save this. So we are done with the properties for our form control for adding products and for updating products. So we need two template properties, one which will be used for the template for adding the product and model, and the second one which will be used for the editing the product. So we have two models, and we have given these two models an ID, and now we have to make sure in order to access these models, we need to access them through a template reference. And to do that, we will go back here, and here we will go and create a add model and update model references. So first we will use the at view child, and why we are using at view child is because we are targeting a template within the HTML content. So the at view child decorator will help us to target the template by its reference, which is the ID. So therefore, it's a child element in our HTML. So we will use the at view child decorator, and then we will go ahead and create the property by providing the template reference name. So the template reference name for adding the product is template. So let's go here and add the reference. And now what are we going to call this? We are going to call this as model. You can name it anything you like. You can name it as add model. You can name it as anything that you want. So it's to variable naming, and this will be of type template reference. So now, and here for the property type, we will just give any. That should be it, because there will be different type of data inside that template. So we'll just leave it as any. So now the as you see, the class has been imported here in the import statement, so we didn't have to do anything. Now the second thing that we want to do is the same thing for the second model. To target the second model to perform any functionality, Crud functionality using the second model, we need to access it by its model reference name. So the model reference name is the edit model, edit template. Go back here, change this to edit template, and let's call this as edit model. Once again, it's going to be of data type template reference. And now we are done with these two properties as well. Now the next thing that we need is properties for our model. So let's call this model properties. So now when a model loads, we need to display a message to the user saying that this is an add product model. It is an update product model. So we need a property for that so that we can edit the message, and this variable will store the message that we need to display. So let's call it as model message, and it's just going to be a string, so I'll leave it as string. Now we need another property, that is the model reference property, and it's going to be the bootstrap model reference property. We have used these properties inside the registration component. If you go back to the register component, since we used a model inside the registration component, and if you notice, I have created a model reference property of type bootstrap model reference. And using these properties, we can target the required methods to show, hide the models. There are different methods. There are more methods that can be used, but in this video, in this project, we have just used the model property to show the model, which is through the model service object. And if you notice, it's done through the model reference. So we need to create a model reference property so that we can make use of these. So whenever we want to show the model, we will show it through the model reference. So let's go ahead and go back here and create a model reference property. Call this as model ref, and this is going to be part of BS model reference, that is bootstrap model reference. So now we have the import statement. So the next thing that we want to add, so now please note that when we added this model reference, there is a reference provided to node modules here, correct? So we don't need to do that. We can directly provide the access through ngx bootstrap, because we would not be adding this node modules folder inside when we are uploading this to the DevOps repos. So obviously, so we don't want to use that reference. So we'll use ngx bootstrap, and then all we want to do is model. That's it. So this, if the class or the modules available locally in your node modules, then Angular will add it from the local path, but we don't want to use that. So I have changed it to the main path. So whenever it sees that this particular component requires these modules, then npm will download it for us. So we don't have to provide the local path here. So we still don't get any error, so that's fine. So if you have anything under node modules, you can give the direct path of the class or the module. So now next thing that you want to do is we need few more properties. So we need a property to select the product. So when somebody selects a product, they click on a product, then that entire product will be selected. So let's go back here. So let's example, there is a product in this row and somebody clicks on the edit button, then we should be able to select the entire product. So now the entire product will be selected. So therefore this object will be of type product, which will contain all the properties. So let's call this as selected product. Now this is going to be of type product, and product once again is available under the interfaces product. So the selected product is basically going to be the selected product from the list of our all products list. Now, the next property that we need is a property that will hold the values that are returned by the product service. So if I go to my product service uh, class that I created inside services, now look at this. When we get products, the get products method is returning an observable type of product, correct? So these value is basically going to be an observable type of product array. So inside my product list component, I need to display this list in a table. So I need to store that products observable type of array inside an object. So this object is also going to be of type observable product. I cannot leave this object as product array. If the method is returning an observable type, then definitely this has to be an observable type as well. Now we have an observable type, but we cannot display it onto a table as a list. First, we need to get the values out of this product observable type. For example, if you're using JavaScript, right? Now, when you get an element by ID, what does it return? It returns an object, an HTML object. If you want to get the value, you will do document.getElement by ID dot value. You will call the dot value method. Similarly, in this case, we are just getting an object which contains all the products. Now, to get all the products, we need to create another, we would need another variable. Let's call this as products. This is going to be of type product array, and we will initialize this to an empty array. So initially this array is empty, then we will store the values from this observable type inside this product array so that we can use it inside our HTML templates or in our table to display it. So also note that I have used the $sign at the end of an observable type. This is a very common convention of naming observable types in Angular. Now, the next properties that we are going to need is actually we need the user role status. So let's create that user role status, and obviously we are going to display the products based on the user role status. So we need to know the value of the user role. What is this user's role? So we will store it inside this property. Now finally, we need the properties that are going to display the products list inside this table here. Now we are going to make use of an jQuery API. Now this jQuery API is called as DataTables. If you are familiar with it, you would know that it's very popular and it can be used in your application, and it's free of cost to use it. Then all you have to do is use this API plugin, and the way we use this plugin, I will teach you the step-by-step guide in the next video tutorial. But just to let you know what exactly this is, we can display the product inside a pre-designed table made from jQuery, and it's called as data tables. And here's an example on the home page of data tables, where you will see that when you load the list inside this table, you can do many things like live search. So you can search, for example, I'm searching this London office. So if I do London, it's going to give me all London offices. So isn't that a cool thing? So yes, we will use this API plugin inside our application and switch this normal table that we have. This is a bootstrap table. This does not have this functionality to live search or to organize them as per alphabetically, So we will switch this regular bootstrap data table into this data table JS API, and we will do that in the next video tutorial because we need to create few objects and also install the module for data tables, and it's going to be a totally separate video. I don't want to mix that video with creating these properties for this product list mod component. So for now, let's end this video tutorial here. And in the next video tutorial, we will create our data tables properties. Please like and subscribe my channel Tech Howdy for this content that I provide you. It encourages me to create more content and keep uploading it on YouTube. Thank you once again. Please like and subscribe my channel, and the code for this video tutorial will also be updated in the devs ops repo. Thank you.